Oh, welcome, welcome to another sacred conversation. And I always get excited when I welcome someone into this space and we share of each other. And today it's Camila. Camila Sunshine. We can see it down there. He's a business coach for soulpreneurs. Camila and I have known each other for a while, on and off, but she's also been teaching me how to use Insight Timer and also about how to share around mental health, trauma, things like that. So I really wanted to welcome her into this space, our space. So welcome, Camila.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I know we have had very deep and delicious conversations around it, those conversations that we need to have. So I'm excited to what is to come.
Thank you. And I think that's really lovely. And what you just said was, which is what I want you to show people, what to come. We don't need to know, because often when we've been through something, like we've had mental health or trauma, whatever ways you want to use, I know for me, so I won't speak for you, Camila, of course, is that I shut myself, I had to be perfect. There was no room to just let things flow.
Yes, the perfectionism we have spoken, so it has been such a theme, right? And I'm sure people who follow you and people who know you and you share as well about how you letting go of the perfectionism, and that has been my journey as well as entrepreneur. Not only entrepreneur, I think as entrepreneur, the perfectionism got more visible. I could see more that there was, because when I worked in corporate right before for 14 years ago, right? And you have like a guideline, right? So they will give you a task and they will gauge by the average how long gonna take for you to do that. And you just gotta do that within that scope. And when you're working for yourself, there's no scope. You have to create your own scope. So what I see a lot, and I've seen myself a lot, spending I know we're gonna touch on this point about me running my business even with ADHD, right? Mm-hmm. Because there's something I realized I have since for the past 2 years. I've been aware. I was had ideas that I maybe I could have, but now for the past 2 years I became aware. So having that kind of I had a blank because I digressed and I couldn't go back.
And I think that's wonderful, because it's about, we do have blanks. Again, this is coming back to perfection, isn't it?
And I'm just like, you're gonna cut it off. Maybe you'll decide not to cut it off. You just decide this moment of, oh my God, I've been so ashamed that I digressed and I can't go back, right? And then when you go live, right? I am the type that I am spontaneous, right? I can speak. Yes, I go in tangents. Some people love it, some people hate it, but right. And when you are sharing, you gotta be yourself. Of course, you slowly improve. I try not to digress, right? Sometimes very poorly, because oh my God, this sounds so exciting to go through this road now and leave the other road over there. But coming back to that road, when you work for somebody else, you have a scope, and when you don't, you need to create a scope. And what I've seen is, spending too much time in a task that is not going to bring much, fruits or results, like being on Canva, perfecting a graphic for 4 hours, right? 8 hours. And it's like, where does the time go? I think ADHD has that. I think ADHD as well goes with the digressing, but it's learning how to work with that. It can be a strength and it can be a weakness.
Yes. Yeah.
Because I don't need to prepare when I go live, for example. I don't need to prepare. I can tell a whole story on how I had a lot of fears going live, and I had desire to go live and share, but I had so much fear. My first live, I thought I was going to die.
Mm-hmm.
shaking, tense, and I was like, oh my God, almost pressed and live, and live, because yeah, it was really stressful. I think those thoughts, like what people gonna think, who am I just to say this, all these things that come up when we come to share our hearts, isn't it?
It is, and thank you. And I think coming back to this perfectionism, and you're talking about would I cut it out or not? I made the decision that whatever I do in these sacred conversations, they stay raw. They stay, this is it. Because again, it's about sharing, but we can giggle about it, even though it might be painful. At least people can see we're having a bit of a giggle. We can laugh about it, that it's actually okay.
It's so funny because I could see like this is how trauma is in the body, right? So it's like I digressed, and what really happened to me was like, oh my God, I did something wrong. Like you can really see my face. Is like, if you're watching this, you can go like my face is real. It's real. Like the body is in shock. I did something wrong. What people are gonna think, that I'm not perfect. Is that perfectionism? That's how it shows up. Like, cut it off. Don't show the world this imperfection, right? And I think this comes with like the slight nervousness of like, oh, this needs to be good.
Yes.
This needs to be perfect. And depending on how we hold the intention, right, and how it's set up, like let's say you come to me and say, hey, now we're gonna talk, you gotta do like this, you need to say this, you need to say that. And if you tell me I need to have a script, I can't be myself, this will make me nervous.
Yeah. Yeah. And thank you for sharing, because what popped in for me too, because I hear you, oh my God, I so relate to this. For me, it also brings up shame, like you said, shame again. So it's like, oh my gosh, what are people going to think? Particularly because I'm going to read out your bio now, talk about, because you're a business coach, embodiment mentor, and you're guiding multi-passionate soulpreneurs to work through their soul-aligned pathway, okay? And through Insight Timer. And I'll have this also, everyone who's watching, done in the description. So, of course, I'm wondering whether you have this, because I feel a bit the same as being the psychotherapist, Reiki master, is what will people think? Am I being professional? And so there's that fine line for me between, no, I want to share with you how this
Yeah.
has been to make it real, yet within the context of our work. And clients coming, and I presume this is for you too, when I know clients come to me, I'm truly present for the client.
Yeah, but I think of being professional, right? I know a lot of women have a challenge to be visible, being the feminine. Like they things have changed, and we have the freedom of expression, but still, there's a lot of judgment. Like, oh, this thing is crazy, is woo woo, and that kind of stuff. It still can linger. It lingers still in our DNA and what we have experienced as collective, right? So no wonder like this deep collective trauma of like, oh, it's not okay to be like this. Oh, I'm too sensitive. Oh, I'm too loud. This is what I like to ditch, like, right? So when someone comes and work with me, like, we're gonna work with their strengths. Of course, there will be parts that they have held in shame, but what I help them in a practical way, right? So it's yes, find their talents and strengths and all that, but when they decide like, I want to go through this pathway of creating a business and using my business as my it's a spiritual practice to me, because it makes you grow so much, so much, like nothing. Like, I think relationships and business are pathways to enlightenment because they are hard. They are hard, and how you express and all that kind of stuff. So I help them in a practical way to create programs. Yeah, so they have all this wisdom in their heads. They know it's there. They keep thinking, I'm going to create a course. I'm going to create a course. I'm going to do this. I want to create. I want to help more people. But there is a gap that they don't know how to put on paper, how to structure it, because then all of a sudden they have like, I don't know what to do with tech. How can this actually be out in the world? It's like you creating a product, skincare, right? You need to research, okay, so how I'm gonna wrap this. I need to get, how am I gonna mix the cream, what are gonna be the ingredients. You need to decide all of those stuff. And when you create a course as well, you need to see all that stuff plus your mindset, because it's not a cosmetic thing that's there on its own. You are the product.
Yes.
I mean, in theory, yes, like you showing up. Like I think this is what actually needs to dissociate, because if it is you, right? It is us showing up with a message, but at the same time, is not. Because when we have and this is a thing, I think something really interesting, like the ego thinks that's all about me. Like I'm here, people will listen to this and will hate me or will laugh, about it, will ridicule me, gonna feel ridiculed. But when you're able to dissociate and say, this is the message that needs to be shared, I'm channeling it, and you sit back, you will channel. And when you channel, you dissociate from that ego and you're okay. Like I think this is internally something that needs to happen in people in business like us, heart-centered, heart-aligned businesses who do things like we do things because we care about things. I could be doing what I'm doing, creating courses for banks, or that's what I used to do before, but that's not where my heart is anymore. So my purpose, it is around healing and raising consciousness in the world. So this is important.
Oh yeah, thank you. And I agree with you. I think it is about, as you said, and I love that, raising consciousness. It's raising awareness. It's raising awareness as a woman, as an individual, but also as the collective. And I was thinking as you were talking about the work that you do, because we've had a session together, which I've really appreciated. And what I loved was, because I was railing against structure, because I've been structured all my life due to my childhood trauma and all that. So I'm learning to have a structure that fits me. And then be able to free flow in that. And you gave me that gift when we were putting those things together for Insight Timer. You said, right, which is what I love doing too with meditation. You took me into my body. How does it feel? Because I was quick to go, oh, yes, because I'm used to authority, giving my power over to authority. But you stepped back and said, no, let's go into how does this feel for you? And I went, hallelujah, at last, a coach asking me, how do I feel?
You touched this topic that I'm just like, I'm so passionate about it, because I think I have worked, with people who, and I've heard other people as well, being through experiences where the coach have found a way that something works, and they try to impose their way onto you. This is the pathway. I show you this pathway. I show you the template. I show you the step by step. When we are learning something that is useful, right? It's useful to know A, B, C, D, E, right? Like it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's okay. But once that's learned, it needs to be integrated, and we need to find our own way. It's okay to learn from a mentor. But like the way I work is always like, yes, I always ask, okay, so this is what it is. I come with my experience, what has worked for me, but also what has worked for my clients. So I have this knowledge, this wisdom, and I know I have worked with like different types of people, how people operate. Some people are more visual, some people are more kinesthetic. So I'm always, because I had, my specific way of learning. So I'm interested in how that person learns. And we evolve in that business coaching relationship. We evolve because sometimes people don't get results in their, with their business coach or whatever. It's purely communication. It's all communication, isn't it? When you're working with somebody, even like you, because if you don't listen, it's like, if you don't listen and you try to, fix, or you try to like, okay, I've got the answer before fully hearing the person, then you're not going to come up with something that suits them.
That's
Like,
it. Mm.
yeah, what are you going to say? Because I think this is it. Like, you know, I strive for my coaching practice to be trauma informed. So it's trauma informed, meaning like, okay, some coaches, I know that they're gonna hustle the coachee to the ground. Like, okay, this is your goal, just go, 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 go. Which there's a space for that. You know, I know we can procrastinate. We need to be kept accountable, and we have a goal, and we're gonna go for that. But when that starts to spiral, like the trauma, like the freeze, and pushing through a trauma is never the best way. We need just to, sometimes in sessions, I take a step back with clients, and we need to breathe and dissolve that stress. I can feel, because I feel like I'm a clairsentient. I feel,
Yes.
I feel we're frustrated. Okay, let's take a step back. Why are you feeling this way? I think this is the difference, right? When you're trauma informed, when other coaches like, just do this, and the person, what they do, they like, something wrong with me if I don't do this. I'm incapable. I can't do what they are saying. Why can't I do? Others can. I'm just gonna give up. I want to, but I don't have like the capacity, the ability to create a business, and they feel bad about themselves, which makes me feel sad, because I know that a lot of people who experience this, you know, I don't know if you have
Yes, I have. Hello. That's why I do the work. You're doing it as a coach. I'm doing it more as a psychotherapist, because I want people to understand where it's coming from, to be able to perhaps step back into a coach. And I agree with you. And the word that kept coming through as you're talking, looking back now, I felt imposed upon by coaches, out of their awareness, imposed upon. You do it this way, like you're saying. And then if it didn't work, I got dropped, or that's how it felt. Or they moved. Yeah, or there's something wrong with me. Like, so of course that triggered my trauma even more, you know, because then I kept working harder. And so I was even more driven, because there must be something wrong with me, like you're saying, where it might have been. That's why, again, coming back to the work that you're doing, and I'm slowly seeing a bit more. It's like, hang on, no. You're telling me your experience. You're telling me, as you said, you're gleaning it from your clients, but you're then working with me. So you're working with the individual. And see, that's the work with psychotherapy that I do. It's called person-centered therapy, because it's all about the client. Ultimately, we have the inner wisdom, but it's someone like what you do in the work for, you know, with businesses. You're allowing that to come out. You're allowing that person to bring up their own inner, actually, what she said was, I don't like that, but what about this? And she's helping me get that. And what does that create? Confidence, ownership, excitement.
Yes.
What it,
and it's, there's this way, like, to me, is merging the masculine and the feminine, right? We need to have the will to commit. This was my learning, you know, like, I think maybe the previous part of my career in IT, you know, was like masculine in a way that, structure, like very logic. I was very like good at processes, you know, creating systems and complex source of like information and etc., like very logical. Then I stepped into the healing world, which is like, no numbers, no structure, freedom. I'm gonna do it my way. And stepping fully just in that wasn't working either. So I had to, again, take a step back, and it's like, this is not working. Like, why is not working? Even after working with coaches, is, you know, investing 5, 10, 30K in trainings and coaching, and like, why? Like, what am I doing wrong? What's wrong? What's wrong with me? What am I doing? What I'm not doing, right? And I had to, like, dissociate a little bit and just be objective about it. It's like, okay, so what am I actually good at? Like, what is working? Let's see what's working, you know, because trauma takes us and seeing like, this is not working, and I can only see things that don't work
from that low base. Yes,
you don't do this, you don't do that, this is not good enough, but hang on, let's see here above the line, right above the line is like, what is working? And I thought, like, oh my God, like with not much effort, I have built 3,000 followers on Insight Timer. Like, I didn't even know there was something in my voice. Apparently, people like my voice when I guide them into meditation. There's something I didn't even know. Okay, noted. You know, what else? Like, oh my God, like, I have a degree in the best universities of business, like in Brazil, like, right? And I've worked for IT. Like, can I, I wonder if I can use this as a skill. I started then getting in touch a little bit about this world of being a multi-passionate and being multi-talented, right? Where some people can say, oh, you can't be a jack of all trades. They say, I've had coaches who's like, no, you need to choose one thing. Yes. And I'm like, but I don't want to choose one thing because I love all of this. So what I did in that step back, looking at my talents, looking at the things that were working through this more, positive point of view, I could see it like, oh my God, this all makes sense. Like I can help, healers and coaches. I can be inserted in that world and still create my meditation and still guide people into deep processes and embodiment, because that's my passion, with being practical. Yes. It was knowing me, knowing how I operate, searching like things like human design, even astrology, like helped me to like, who am I really? Because I don't know if you had this experience as well, like trauma we can forget who we are with trauma. Like, I don't know what I need. I don't know who I am. I don't know what I like. I don't know what to do. And it makes me even emotional just to say that, because it's so true. And we may judge ourselves on top of that when what we actually need. Oh my God, I'm getting very emotional. What we actually need is compassion, is compassion towards that part. Instead of judging and trying to make it through. Yes, I guess maybe you have something interesting, your wisdom as well, to say.
Thank you.
What is a step back?
Thank you, and I really appreciate, and thank you also sharing your vulnerability, because I think that's important too. And I agree with you. I know, because even though I had trauma from childhood, I still was highly functioning and doing well. But what tipped me over was a car accident that truly tipped me into complex PTSD, where, like you, I couldn't get off the couch. I had no clue who I was. I had no anchor. I had nothing. But I didn't get that at the time because there wasn't as much information as there is now. So I hear you. And it's only now that I'm really coming back into the healing part of me and going deep within, and I've got bringing those parts of me back that I had thought I had even forgotten that I had. Because that's how big trauma can be, that you don't get it. So I was lost and confused. So coming back to what you're saying about, like I know, again, we're talking about these coaches or mentors, we allow them to tell us, because at that point, I needed someone just to tell me practically how to get out of bed. I mean, that's how bad I'd gotten, So yes, but what I've learned is, again, coming back to what you're saying, I went one extreme, two down that masculine structured whatever, because that was what also kept me going. So then the last couple of years, I went the extreme. So I needed to do for me the extreme, go, who cares? I want to go into the unknown, who cares? Because I knew deep within, I needed to find my own structure. So coming back to that male, female. So I knew, because it's like having a framework. It's like doing art. You do it within a framework, but then within that framework, there's freedom to be who you are. So you do it with your clients through business. I do it through with psychotherapy, that when you come, yes, we have a framework, but within that, we explore, who are you? So what are your strengths? What are your weaknesses? And how does it make you feel? How is it in your body? And it's scary at first. Like you say, you get emotional because suddenly you realize, oh my gosh, this is what has happened. This is where I went. And that's what we're sharing.
And in terms of trauma, right? Like I never even resonate with trauma. There's so much information now about trauma. Like you work with trauma. Like I have, trauma is, you know, is part of my work. It's trauma informed, and it's, you know, at times we need to get to a point, like, right, in that journey of creating something. It can be a like, not traumatic experience, but a challenging experience to create something. There's so many fears, you know, fear of rejection will come up, fear of failing will come up, fear of being like abandoned or looking weird, right? Like of being left out, like all this kind of stuff can come up. But I never related to trauma because I never had anything happen to me.
Yeah.
So in terms of like trauma, never resonated. Like, what is trauma? I always felt, you know, different. I don't know about like thinking that I need to be a certain way, using my friends and who I knew as an anchor. Like I need to, you know, either be like that or be totally different. Right? But the thing was, for me, was the trauma is neglect, is the absence. You know, I never met my father, so the absence of the masculine, like, right, the absence and the rejection that my body was holding was a neglect. But I never knew this until like discovering bits and pieces like 5 years ago, and then the past 2 years, like, oh, okay, so people are talking about like the neglect is trauma because it's not that, you know, I had a car accident or I've been sexually assaulted. It's not only that, is what is the hidden trauma, the neglect and the things that didn't happen to you, the love. Even though my mom is very loving and kind, emotionally it's very subtle unavailability. Like I have a good relationship with my mom, kind of, like when we are with each other, we're like, but we love each other, right? But there is the underlying, the bonding didn't happen as it could, because she had a father who was emotionally unavailable and was into drinking and drinking also. So this was my trauma, right? I did not know, but it's like, okay, don't want to categorize and be in a trauma, but it's good to know so I can accept myself. I can go from there. It helps, I think, to accept knowing trauma without labeling is, okay, hey, sweetheart, you know, do the inner child work, have this sense of like, it's okay. I know you want to go, you want to fly, you're ambitious, you want to be there. But hey, this part here needs some care right now. Just wait. Like all parts of you need to be going together, walking together.
Yes.
Yes. You know, part that wants to fly, and the parts that like, but I don't want to. You know, the little child tantruming, and abandon that child. Yeah. So
I can't thank you enough for going down that track, because that's exactly where it is. We see trauma as huge. And I've been doing a lot of work with Peter with his courses and walking the target, he calls it. And it's understanding that it can be what he calls benign experiences. Like you said, things that are not obvious. Or things that can happen to anyone, you know, birthing a child, or grief, as you said, or like you're saying, neglect, all this. So it's becoming, we need to become, it's broader than, but trauma still has this stigma, and it still has to be this. So like you said, and that's why I love what we are doing, is we're starting to weave, and for me, it's about connecting the dots back. So I'm here, like you said, I'm here not to stay in the past necessarily, but it's looking back, that explains why this is here, and this is now how I can move. This is how I can weave it in and become part of me, but no longer dictates me. You know, gives you that understanding. I had neglect, like you said. I didn't have a father. So these are the ramifications, you know?
Yeah, when you can clearly see without fully identifying with the trauma, I think that's really able to heal trauma. To dissociate from the trauma, because we think we are the trauma. We are that thing, and that's what's going to be forever. Like we may have marks, as you say, it's not about fixing the trauma, like, healing the trauma, removing the trauma. Like trauma is part of the story, but when that happened, you compensated this way so you could survive. Now you're here. Okay, so as you look back, like, oh my God, okay, that was not the best way, that the best way I could, but I can actually correct my course. Not correct, it means that's wrong. It's not wrong, but as soon as we can get into this groove of seeing that we are not as aligned as we could be, and we can gauge this through other people, what people are experiencing. Oh, this person looks really happy. This person has a job that they love. This person has a business, like, without feeling like we need to feel envious. It's like, okay, this is a sign that is possible. If it's possible for them,
yes,
if I desire deep in my heart, it's possible for me. And hey, what do we need to do here? Like, what the inner landscape? Oh my God, that's so much in this conversation.
And we could
We're gonna have to have another one.
I think we will need to have another one, because I'm just looking. I agree with you, and I think to end on that, the word that came to me, two words, is to get an understanding of why you are who you are. So that way you can, as you said, not correct, but you can work that out. Number two. And number two, here we are with ending with this. We're giving hope to people that we can change, we can have a good life, we're not the trauma. Because that's what I say to women. I want to look at who's the woman or the person behind the trauma, because as you said, the trauma dictates so much, so it's being able to look at that. So who are you? And you've just expressed it beautifully, so thank you so much, Camila. Is there anything else you feel you'd like to add as we come to the end? I think, as you said, we could have gone on and on and on.
I know we could, but even like what you say, like what's the person behind the trauma, is like that, even though we can have this facade and, I am this, as this identity that I want to show up in the world, like deep inside there is a softness. And right, this message that you're taking is really amazing. Like, who are you behind the trauma? I think you nailed this. So I'm excited to, hearing more women talking about it.
Yeah, thank you. And I really appreciate your time. So everyone, I'm going to put Camila's links on how to contact her if you wish to even have a chat. I'll put her bio down there, and any questions that come up, or you want to leave any comments, one of us will get back to you. If anything's triggered, just remember to reach out to someone, get professional help, because it can trigger things, and we're just here to give you hope, and you're not alone. You're definitely not alone. So thank you for everyone. Thank you, Camila. Appreciate that. Okay.